Oh, hi. Hi, Mr. Kevin. Then hi, Mr. Isaac and Mr.
Hello,
Abed.
Lima.
Hello. I would like us to switch on our videos so that the audience will be able to see our speakers. Nice to see you, Mr. Kevin.
Nice to see you too.
Yeah. We just have one speaker from Uganda. I would just give me a few minutes. Let me chat her up. Welcome everyone, and good afternoon or good evening from wherever you're joining us today.
Good afternoon.
Good distinguished audience, welcome to the African Real Estate Business Insights. My name is Halima Aliyu with EasyNet Global. Today's conversation is guided by the theme 2025 in perspective, while 2026 in focus, positioning Africa's real estate for inclusive growth. As we reflect on the present and look ahead, we are joined by esteemed speakers from Ghana, Uganda, Kenya, and Nigeria, bringing diverse perspectives across the continent. The panel session is going to last for 1 hour and 15 minutes. The audience are going to be given 15 minutes to ask questions. With that, I would like to hand over to our host to lead us through today's session in the name of AS UNICEF from Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Halima, for the wonderful introduction. Hello, everyone. You are welcome to African Real Estate and Business Insights. I'm so excited to have everyone again back to the screen, especially my friend, Mr. Kelvin. You have been very supportive on this journey throughout the year. Thank you very much. Today will be the last edition for the year 2025. And the purpose of this, our conversation, is to shape policies in line with real estate development, housing, infrastructure development, and business practices all together. We have had wonderful conversation.
Sorry, please. Mr. Isaac, please, can we have your video switched on? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Halima. We have had wonderful conversations around policy execution, access to funding, and even attracting investment to Africa. So today we are here to look at the industry generally as a player. What has happened all through 2025, and what are those things that we believe we should all look out to in order to improve the industry, bridge the gap, and also attract funding in 2026. This is just an overview of what we are looking at today, and I'm so excited that I have interesting personalities from Kenya, Ghana, and Uganda. I think Leila is also a very familiar face on this our session here. She's here to join us. She's one of us that is doing excellently well in projecting Africa. So I will quickly read our bio so that we can know ourselves better. I will start with Mr. Kevin, my friend. Mr. Kevin is a real estate consultant, and formerly he was the general manager at Fusion Estates. He has over 8 years of experience in real estate development and investment across Kenya and other sub-African markets. He is a Swedish Institute scholar. Currently, he's pursuing his master's in science in urban studies, specializing in real estate and transport at Malmö University in Sweden. Kevin has also led property management, development, and stakeholder engagement initiatives, and also he has also championed community organizations in his area of endeavor. His professional and research interests focus on innovation, affordable housing, and climate-resilient urban development in African cities. He is currently contributing to UN Habitat's innovation and smart cities workstream, and has been an active member of professional networks, including the Kenya Property Developers Association, the Kenya Green Building Society, and the Institute of Economic Affairs. Please, we can just give a thumbs up to Mr. Kevin for that robust resume I just read out. Mr. Kevin, you are highly welcome. You can say hi so that all of us can know that.
Thank you, Nessa. I hope I'm audible enough, and I'm glad to be here yet another day to wrap up.
Yeah, you are audible enough. Thank you. The next person I will have the honor to introduce is Mr. Abedi Mwangi. Please permit me, do I pronounce the name well? Is it Mwangi?
Correct. You are right.
Thank you very much, my brother. He's the founder and managing director of AM Nexus Capital Partners. In fact, I love the word capital because in the real estate industry, all what we are crying about is capital, capital, capital. And I believe today you are going to give us a smooth way of solving this. He's a capital advisory and investment firm that supports growth stage companies, infrastructure projects, and select technology ventures across Africa, Europe, and North America. He advises founders, sponsors, and institutions on capital raising, private credit, and impact-oriented investment, with a strong focus on infrastructure and scalable growth platforms in emerging markets. Please let us welcome Mr. Abedi. So, Mr. Abedi, you can also give us a hi so that everybody will recognize you.
Hi, hello. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next person we are also honored to have is Mr. Isaac Dreamer Opoku. Do I pronounce it well?
Yeah, I think that is it. That is correct.
Thank you very much. He is the founder and managing director of Orient Property Consulting Limited, recognized at the Ghana Property Awards in 2024, with over 13 years of experience in real estate valuation, advisory, and market research. We complete here. Isaac has led numerous projects for banks, government agencies, and international development partners, including the European Union, Government of Canada, that is Global Affairs Canada, the Bank of Ghana, and the National Insurance Commission. He's a regular contributor to the Business and Financial Times. He provides insights on real estate investment, policy, and market trends. He is committed to nurturing the next generation of professionals. This is our slogan. The slogan of EasyNet Global is nurturing the next generation of African leaders. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah. So he's committed to nurturing the next generation of professionals through the Orient Property Consulting Real Estate Career Launchpad, a Pan-African mentorship initiative in partnership with RICS, a Pan-African mentorship program in partnership with which educates students and young professionals on career opportunities, emerging trends, and industry best practices in the built industry. Isaac holds an MBA in finance as well, also an MSc in real estate and a BSc in land. How did you achieve all this? 2 masters. He's a professional member of the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors, the Ghana Institution of Surveyors, and also Chartered Institutes of Bankers, Ghana. Please let us also welcome Mr. Isaac.
Okay.
It's also very loaded. We are expecting Miss Leila, as I said earlier, she's from Uganda. Possibly, if time permits her, she is going to join us. I believe that with the type of CVs I have with me, we are going to have big insights into what actually happened in 2025. For the benefit of us on the screen, the program is usually few people on the Zoom and stream live on YouTube so that it can be there and will make reference to what we have discussed. Once more, you are highly welcome to the last edition of African Real Estate and Business Insight. And I assure you that your knowledge that you're going to share with us today, you'll be proud of dishing out your knowledge and also contributing to African development through the platform. So we are going to move to the conversation proper. In Nigeria here, 2025 has been, let me say, a bit stable for generally the industry. In 2024 was hell. Anybody that survived, if I show you the middle of my head now, you will see very big bad head here. 2024 was very tough in our business, but 2025 was a bit stable in our business landscape. So now, let me start with Mr. Kevin, because you have been my friend over time. I always like to start with you. Mr. Kevin, here is 2025. We are updating on 2025. So what is that one success that you have observed? One factor that contributes to the success of real estate industry, speaking from the environment you are now in 2025. Thank you, Mr. Kevin. Do we still have him? Oh, it's like his network. Okay, let me move to finance. Mr. Abedi, let me come to you, since we don't have Mr. Kevin. Once he comes, he can take his own section. So, Mr. Abedi, I believe you have been working with us in this industry, having the necessary experience in capital mobilization. So my question is, with your experience, what finance structure do you think that work best for real estate practitioners in this year 2025 that we're rounding up soon?
Hello, you can hear me, yeah?
Yes, I can hear you. You can go ahead.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Yunusa. I pronounce it right, yeah? Yunusa.
Perfectly.
Okay. Awesome. Cool. Yeah, so I'm happy to be here. My name is Abedi, as you just mentioned. I'm a transaction advisor. I work with many companies, as you mentioned, mostly scale-ups, and when you're looking at the startups, scale-ups, and a couple of infrastructure projects and real estate. So I think you can ask your question again. Sorry, I think I was on here.
My question is, with your experience throughout the year in real estate industry, working with the practitioners in real estate, what type of financing structure do you think work best for real estate practitioners?
Okay, awesome. I think practically what I've seen work best throughout the year has been blended finance, where it's coupled with debt and equity on the table. That is what I've seen mostly being structured in some of the transactions I've been part of. I think that is that's what I've seen mostly. Blended finance taking most bigger chunk of the transaction which I've been involved in, and generally I think throughout the industry. Yeah, I think.
Wow. Absolutely. You have finally reached what's it called? Mr. Abedi, can you give me more insight? I know blended finance combining debt with equity.
Yeah,
Can you
yeah.
give us more clarity so that most of us can give us more details on
Yeah.
it?
Okay. Maybe, yeah, that's what I've seen happen mostly. And again, during most of the transactions and deal structuring, what I've also seen or observed in most of the transactions is most of the project sponsors have been struggling to be able to bring the equity part of their demand on the table, because some of the transactions could be a bit expensive. Maybe a sponsor is looking for 250 million or 400 million or even $1 billion to be able to do a particular project. And of course, the financiers will some ask for 25%, 30% cash on the table. Then you find that the sponsors, some of them are struggling to be able to bring that kind of capital, equity part of it to the table. Then, of course, now we have to look for alternatives, maybe other equity investors who want to be part of the transactions, who are going to cover up some of the, ask which needs to be provided for the deal to be able to go to conclusion, or probably the finance structuring to go to completion. I think that is one of the key things I've observed, whereby sponsors are a bit, unable to bring the capital requirement. Again, I've also had a chance to be in some of transactions where the kind of financing happening is EPC plus finance, whereby the people who are financing the entire project, they want to do even the construction of the project and the financing itself. It's some of the phenomenon I've observed in the year, and I think it's something good, whereby going forward, I feel sponsors having maybe the technical knowledge, or even the people who are going to be, or contractors who are contracted to do the implementation of some of these real estate projects. That alone seems not to be sufficient going forward. I think we might be looking at a scenario by we having financing and the EPC part of these kind of projects. I think that is my observation.
Thank you very much. Your response was personal. It's personal to me, so that was why I was pushing you to have more insight. So, Mr. Kevin, you are welcome back. Sorry for the network glitches. Can you engage me now, or I should move further?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you clear.
Okay. I think I had a network issue or something, but I'm back.
Okay.
Next, and then I can come in later.
Okay. Your question is that with what you have seen in 2025, so what is that one key thing that contribute to the real estate success in Kenya, and also what are those key things that you think that it is the contributing factor to the success in this year?
Okay, great. Thank you, Lisa, for that question, and apologies again, yes, for my bad Wi-Fi. And I'm in a restaurant, so I'm trying to manage noise and bad Wi-Fi at the same time. But yeah, I think 2025 has been an up and down year with quite a number of successes and a bit of setbacks. So if I had to summarize Kenya's real estate market in 2025, I think in one word it would be momentum. But of course, with a caveat, on the success side, 2025 has been a year that we finally saw institutional signals align. For instance, on the public side, the affordable housing push was accelerated. The government released almost 130,000 units. Some were launched, some are still under construction, which is one of the strongest delivery signals in Kenya over many years. I think on the capital side, we've also seen meaningful market innovation. The affordable housing levy, which had a bit of backlash, but looking at the numbers, I think the government raised close to 73 billion in the financial year 24-25. So the conversation is no longer whether there is funding, but how quickly and transparency it converts into delivery. I think also on the private sector, we've seen quite a bit of movement here and there. Companies like Mivida Homes, they had a management buyout with a transaction of close to 52 billion. So I think such movement in the market then make 2025 a year that we can say had a bit of success. And just finally, I think we've also seen new funding models such as the D-REIT, companies like Acorn raised close to 2.2 billion, which also signals that the market is really innovating in terms of how they raise finances. So for me, I think 2025 proved there's intent and there's capital, but the real test is really in execution and trust.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. K. If I may get you, the key success factor, according to you, is number one, the government support by injecting capital funding into the industry. Then secondly, private practices, the consciousness of the private practitioners, and also finally, new funding model that's through capital markets and but if I get you right, Mr. Kevin.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, thank you very much for that insight you shared with us. Then I will come to my brother, Mr. Isaac. Mr. Isaac, can you confirm that you can hear me before I
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I'm very happy that you are a player and also a valuer. So, in the Ghana market in 2025, how did you think that inflation and financing costs of projects shape the market throughout the year?
All right, thank you for the opportunity. Ghana actually had a change of government from the beginning of the year, so a lot of things change. The government has the new government has as its slogan resetting agenda. So what I say is that compared to the previous government, which the latter part of the administration were hit with challenges from COVID-19, the Russian-Ukraine war, which distorted Ghana's microeconomic environment. At the end of 2022, inflation rose as high as 53%, which interest rates and others also went high. So Ghana ended the year as a last year with inflation around 23%. Inflation around 28% policy rates, that is the central bank's guide for financing, that was around 28%. But with the new government coming in place, certainly there is a new phase, a new energy. So what I see is that with respect to the capital market and the microeconomic in general, there was a renewed confidence. So things began to slow down. One of the things that the government, the Ministry of Finance, and the central bank adopted was trying to address our exchange rates policies, which have actually brought things down. We are a very highly import-dependent economy, both for what we consume and our rare estate sector. So luckily, during the mid part of the year, the exchange rate dropped about one third, from nearly $15 to 15 cedis, coming down as low as almost 10 cedis. So that actually affected all sectors of the economy. As I speak now, inflation, which started around 23.5%, is now around 6.5%, which is a good news. Monetary policy rate, which is a guide for lending for the banks, which we started the year at 28.5, is around 18.5. I'm sure my colleagues in Kenya and Co will be laughing because enjoying the single numbers. So when I'm mentioning double numbers, but this is where we find ourselves now. So for inflation coming to single digit, so I see 2025 was more like what the government said, a resetting, a correction period, where most of the challenges, increased costs were being seen. So most people were responding to it because prices of goods, just like in Africa, prices of goods respond slowly to macroeconomic changes. So now that we are seeing, so much didn't happen, but there was a renewed hope in our real estate sector, and renewed hope in the microeconomic sector. So I see in Ghana's real estate sector 2024-5 as a reset period, a correction period, which have provided the opportunity, the prospect that we can see that there will be development for the real estate sector coming 2026. With inflation and exchange rate going down, we are likely to see things changing. So that is what 2025 has been. And a lot of developments are going on. Ghana's real estate sector, especially the high-grade apartment and office, are seeing a lot of FDI, foreign direct investment. Ghana pursued an agenda in 2019, which was termed as the year of return, trying to connect Blacks around the globe, especially the Caribbean and Northern America, to return to their home, those who were taken as slaves. So during that period, months like December have seen Ghana seeing a lot of tourists and people coming in. So this has been an avenue for people investing in short-term rentals in the Airbnb, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom apartments. So there has been a big boom. Currently, in the first-class residential areas, almost every corner you turn, you will see it going on there. We also saw a drop in office space demand after the COVID and the post Russia-Ukraine challenges. But as I indicated, as these environments are cooling down, industries, businesses are increasing their operating capacities. Therefore, spaces are being demanded, warehouses and office spaces. So I will summarize it that 2025 in Ghana was a reset agenda. What went wrong the past 3 years position us for a prosperous 2026. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Isaac. At a point when you mentioned Renew Hope, I have to check your name again. Are you actually from Ghana or you are from Nigeria? Because the current administration of Nigeria's slogan is Renew Hope. So we are all familiar with that word, Renew Hope. And it's also interesting to learn that your inflation dropped from 23.8%, if I get you right, to 6.5%.
Yeah,
to 6.5%. Is there any the adjustment in the metrics, like as was done in Nigeria last year, rebasing of the statistical measurement, or just a natural cost?
No. I think it's just a monetary policy end that the central bank and finance minister adopted. Instead of leaving it merely to the issues of demand and supply, the central bank came in providing a lot of foreign exchange. There were a lot of foreign exchange available, and Ghana too. When it comes to gold mining, we are one of the leading on the continent and even the world. So the rising prices of gold is also helping the country. One of the things that instituted was to centralize gold purchases, which wasn't done before, and therefore now the gold purchases is being sent to the government. Therefore, the revenue that comes through is also able to support our foreign reserves, which actually boosted the. So that is it. So the central bank came in to support, coupled with the renewed confidence in the new government, because we are all support for so many years. This is the very first time that Ghana is ending the year with an exchange rate lower than what we began from the beginning of the year. I mean, for so many years, we've never seen something like this before, and it's affected every sector of our economy because, as I indicated, we are an import-driven economy. We take our real estate sector, nearly almost 80% of whatever is put in the construction is imported. So if exchange rate drops, we all see a lot of relief. Yes, so it was a bit of government intervention, not rebasing, but mainly of government intervention. So when the exchange rate dropped, as I said, our food and everything, most are imported. So when the exchange rate dropped, prices began to go down or even stabilize. That's why we've seen inflation dropping from 3.5% to the current one, 6.5%.
Congratulations first of all to you, the citizens of Ghana, and also the government. These are the type of informations we like to hear, because when things like this works,
yes,
the business people, we will be happy. So kudos to your government, yes, and we hope that we will speak more on this on the new year to come. So, Mr. Abedi, let me come back to you, because you have been listening for a while. We have talked about the funding, debt, and equity that work properly in the year 2025. With your experience so far, what type of risk do you think we should prepare for ahead of 2026?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think one of the risks which we need to prepare for, of course, is execution risk. These kind of projects are usually large, and some of the things, when they're not properly checked during the DD and all this structuring, they could affect later. And seeing risk like construction delays, that's a risk as well. Cost overruns. Maybe you had estimated this, it turns out to be this one. That's a risk as well. And also, there's a risk of investors having to look into markets whereby there is almost guaranteed return of the investment. Other markets, they feel, this kind of, maybe there's no much return of the investment once the projects are completed, because they might be completed and the income doesn't come back to them. There's a risk as well. So I think mostly is the execution risk. That's what I'm seeing from the lens of investors side of things, because for them it's about how they're able to mitigate the risk before they put their money. But of course, deals, some of the things do fall apart, and they are unseen risks which come later. And I think that is one of the biggest risk on the execution part of things of these kind of transactions.
Okay, thank you. If I get you, as a developer, the critical risk we should all look out to is execution risk.
That is one. Yeah.
That is
go on.
The construction, managing the construction process itself.
Mm-hmm.
which is the determinant of the return that anybody is going to get. I think if I get you right, that's what you mean.
Yes, yes. That's what I mean. That's one of the biggest risks I'm seeing from the, if I'm sitting on the lens on the side of the investor, because it happens. You find that projects have been completed and the assets are not generating income. That is a risk for the investor's money. So that's one of the biggest risks, which I think, from my side, I feel it could be one of the biggest risks in 2026. Of course, there are some issues like FX mismatch between the funding and the revenues and weak project level governance. Those are there. Those are some of the risks, but I don't think they are that big. For me, I think what I pick as the biggest risk in 2026 could be execution. Of course, under macroeconomic volatilities in different markets. That is one of the risks I'm seeing.
Okay, thank you very much. Please, the conversation is getting interesting. Anybody that have question can drop down their question. People on watching from YouTube, you can also type your question, then we can read your question here. Thank you very much for that insight. All of us in development practice, the number one risk you should look at in 2026 is execution risk, according to Mr. Abedi. Thank you. Then I will come back to, let me go back to my friend, Mr. Kevin. So, Mr. Kevin, this question, thank God, is very preferred for you because you are there when we talk about trust policy in the last conversation. So now, what if you have the opportunity, you have the power to form any policy or make any critical reform in this industry? What is that single policy you will bring on board in order to scale this real estate industry in Africa generally?
Thank you, Nusa. And just I think picking up from Abedi, I think we've elaborated it very well, execution risk, and really there's really no one fit all solution. But if I were to think of one critical reform for maybe inclusive real estate moving forward into 2026 to handle that uncertainty bit is really a conversation that we had, I think, with 2 webinars ago about policy certainty. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, so I think policy certainty is critical to unlock cash flows moving forward, to unlock investors moving forward. So, like, for instance, in my view, Kenya and many other African markets don't lack policy ideas. We have a lot of policy ideas. The issue that we have mainly is the predictability and really speed. So investor wants to know, for instance, when I put in money in a commercial development, after 24 months, will my development be ready for market? Will I get tenants? Will I get revenue? So those are some of the predictabilities that we need, and also need to figure out the speed in the different markets that we are in. So a good example, I think, is Rwanda. Like as we also discussed last time, they recently launched this AI-enabled approval platform rather, called Kubaka, and I think recent research shows that it has really significantly reduced approval timelines and transaction frequency. And that's a powerful reminder that really governance and process reform can unlock real delivery capacity. I think we also need a bit of the infrastructure policy in this discussion. We've seen major infrastructure development not only in Kenya but across different African countries. And it goes without a doubt. Expressways, rail infrastructure, urban regenerative investments, they directly shape land values and development patterns. So again, in my opinion, I think infrastructure is not just about transport issues, it's also on housing and affordability enabler. So if we can align our policies on investments also to favor such areas, then I think we'll be in the right direction. Yeah, and I think the last bit is last year, this year, and I think next year. No, I think 2025, 2026, and 2027, many countries, African countries, will be going into election. So we really want to have stable governments. We really want to ensure that even when a regime comes and a new regime, when a regime goes and a new regime comes in place, there is policy consistency. So that because real estate investments are not tied to regimes. People put in money and they expect returns for 18 to 20 years. So they want some policy consistency. So when there's a new regime, the policies that were put in place that were solid and that were working need to keep on, need to be retained so that there's a bit of consistency. And that will be really critical to lock in capital and to lock in investors. So I think that is what I think we need to really focus on, just policy consistency, because that again, consistency and certainty, because that again really will be the enabler of unlocking long-term capital for growth as a region.
Mr. Kevin, thank you very much. For you to reinforce what you have told us before, it shows that you are convinced of what you believe will work best for us. Like as you rightly said the last time, you said we don't need more policies, we need stability and consistency. And that the same thing is what you also said, that if you have the opportunity to become the president of Kenya tomorrow, instead of formulating new policies and laws, just harmonize these policies and make them stable so that the investors have the confidence of putting in their money for the economy to be liberated. Thank you very much. Mr. Isaac, I think I'll come back to you again now.
Okay.
Yes. So we are always crying in Africa that we need serious investors. It's not a Nigerian thing, it's not a Ghana thing, it's not a Kenya thing. It's not every country you listen to our African leaders, we need serious investors. So now, what do you think we should do in African real estate market to attract global capital for these international investors to have the confidence to bring in the amount to invest in us in this industry?
Oh, all right. I don't know but it's an issue in Ghana, but I understand. I'm not surprised. Actually, I was in Nigeria early part of November to attend the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors Royal Estate Conference, building for 3 million people. And most of the issues discussed, although were more relating to Nigerian, but I saw it's generalized, which compared to Ghana. One of the challenge we have in Ghana, and I'm sure most of African countries, our weak land administration systems. As Kelvin mentioned, some of our procedures take time. For instance, in Ghana, even to do a search to identify who owns a particular parcel of land, even to a fast track one, will be taking you about 2 weeks. So imagine somebody has bought tickets to be in Accra to inspect a land he's interested in. He went to the land, an agent led him there, he's okay with it, but he wants to be assured who owns the land or who the right person to deal with. And he has to wait for 2 weeks before he can confirm that this thing wouldn't work. So our land administration system should be harmonized so that these administration processes will be faster. As my colleague mentioned, even the easiness of registering business, the business operating environment, sometimes moving from one office to the other, even before you set up, if you don't take care, the administrative bottlenecks, places in Ghana, we call it brown envelope. You have to put something on somebody's table, a work that he has to facilitate for you. So if all these things are clear, as my colleague mentioned, like how Rwanda has been adopted in the current generation of AI and automated systems, most of these things, our land administration system should be automated to the extent that even somebody can sit in New York City, somebody can sit in Sydney and have an information about a parcel of land located in Mombasa. So when it's the first time that he's traveling to come to the country, it's possibly to complete a transaction, not just to come and wait. He doesn't even know who to deal with, where to go to, and the person gets frustrated. And I've been a valuer and also a market research consultant. One of the challenge in our market in Africa is the dearth of information. It becomes very difficult getting information on properties, to do your assessment, to do your analysis, to concretely advise an investor or a client. Unlike the countries like US that have the MLS, multiple listing system, I got a cousin's address and I intentionally typed the address and added for sale. And immediately the price at which the property was sold for came up because it was on the listing agent's website, everything was there. But in Ghana here, even my friend selling his property doesn't even want you to know how much is being sold for. One for administrative, one for social payroll. He doesn't want anybody to know. And previously we had in Africa, I know it's in Ghana, it will be in most of African countries, we had this stigma that when you are selling your property, it means you are in trouble. So people were then they either disclosing because they don't want to pay the necessary tax, or they are hiding because they don't even want the next neighbor to know that his house he's selling it. So the government should come in a way, a system that these reporting will be in, so that as a valuer, as an analyst, somebody contacts me from China, he wants to invest, there will be this information, so that most of our advisory services will not be so much assumptions and figures that it sometimes gets very difficult to challenge, because you don't get so much data to do your analysis to the extent that you can be concrete that yes, because I have this much more information, the advice that I'm advising you, the deviation, the deviation from the actual plus what we have provided is minimal. But in certain cases, the variance is so huge because we are not getting the correct information on the ground to put into our analysis to advise the client. So one, our land administration system to ensure that information on ownership are easily to obtain, obtaining permits for development, all these things are made smooth with an automated system. And the next thing is making sure that there's a report system, that transactions are easily available, so that, because most of the investors coming in, they will want to see do their NPV, IRR, and see that, yes, whatever I'm going to put in, if I'm putting in $1, what am I going to get? But if there is no information to support these analysis, it then becomes very challenging getting investors to come to our part of the world. Africa has the potential that we have the fastest growing population. In the next 50, 100 years, the world will be turning to us. It's we that are going to need more accommodation. They are going to need more office spaces. So we need policies that will attract investors to come and provide the housing that we need, the office spaces that we need. Thank you.
It's one interesting thing since we started this this program is that if somebody is speaking from Ghana or somebody is speaking from Kenya, so anywhere you are, the problems look the same. So like when you are talking about brown envelope, the bottleneck on procedures. It's just like you are speaking about also our problem from this end. And one interesting thing I love about Rwanda, despite we know that the population size also contribute to it, they are not that much like every other African countries, but they have digitalized this system up to 90 to 95%, where someone can be in Ghana today and check informations on a particular property in Rwanda. And that is kind of development we all want, digitalization of these processes, so that to check, to make search, confirmation, it will be faster. With that, we can improve the confidence of investors and we attract the money we were looking for. In fact, the money will be looking for us because it is transparent, it is open. And as you rightly said, transactions are documented. A property you bought for 100 million, you want to sell to another person, you lied that you bought it 150 and the person doesn't have anywhere to confirm. So I thank you very much for that insight. It's really an eye-opener and we hope that they will listen to us. Mr. Abedi, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm listening. I'm following very much. I'm very much here.
Okay, I think I'm back to you again.
Okay.
Okay, now for private capital to flow into Africa, what do you think we can do to unlock it? We have so much tied potentials. How can we unlock this? Okay, it is popularly called debt capital in the industry, debt capital. So what do you think we can do to unlock debt capital so that the issue of funding will not be our problem going forward?
Yeah, I think it's good you asked that question because almost my first contact in some of these transactions is usually to look at the bankability of some of those deals. So capital will flow where it's bankable, and there is institutional grade transparency in that particular deal. I've had people approach me or approach us and tell us, Abedi, we are building this, maybe for purpose of this meeting, I say, we are building this art gallery. It's going to require $1.2 billion. We have identified an investor, or you help us get the investor. I will use a practical example. One of the sponsors approached us and they said they want us to prepare their documents for them to be bankable. And the funny bit was they told us they already identified an investor who was committed. Then I was like, they were committed to what? Because I mean, you don't have approvals ready or even near ready. You don't have anything which is investable. I mean, it is just an idea and all that kind of thing. So I think one of the capital would flow easily where there is a bankable deal flow, where the financial cash flows are predictable, where the sponsors are also credible, probably those who have had previous experience in real estate or some of these infrastructure deals, because I have heard some investors back out from some of the deals when the sponsors they don't have the experience to be able to, to undertake such large infrastructure project or real estate project. Based on the sponsor's experience and the management team, then they back out. So I mean, we need to prepare bankable, presentations to these investors, and we'll be able to attract the capital we need as a continent to be able to, to grow or to build the real estate or the infrastructure deals we want to do. I think for me that is very key, very, very important. Bankable deal flow with institution grade transparency to the investors.
It's getting interesting. For we to attract or unlock debt capitals, our project needs to be bankable, if I get you right. And also, there should be a system of predicted cash flows. And also, capacity of those that will handle the capital also need to be improved, if I get you right.
Yeah, those are some of the drivers which will be able to unlock capital. It's not exclusive, but those are key to me, having been a part of some of the transactions. Of course, there will be things like credit enhancements, tools like guarantees, insurance, fast loss capital, whatnot, clear exit pathways for the investors, those kind of things. But the first thing, you need to have a bankable, and a transparent a deal which you're able to present to the investors and for them to say we are able to risk our money, because essentially it's, you need to have mitigated the risk with whatever you're presenting to them so that they're able to invest their money.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kevin, let me come back to you. We have in real estate as an industry, we have housing, we have infrastructure, then we have commercials, we have industrials. So in East Africa, where you come from, where do you think the focus will be next year? Is it in all-inclusive of all these, or there is this particular section or segment that you believe we should focus on as a developer, as a practitioners, as professionals?
Thank you, Nisa. Thank you for that question. And if I was just to piggyback on what Abedi just talked about, you need bankable investment. I think there are so many different lines of real estate investment specifically in East Africa, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, and they are very different sectors. But if you were to look at where investors should be focusing on in the years to come, I'm just convinced that whatever assets that you have properly done due diligence and you have properly researched on, you should focus less on speculative plays and more on income-backed and demand-led assets. So assets that are backed by an income and the demand for it in the market. So first, I think rental and build-to-rent housing is a big market in Eastern and Southern Sub-Saharan Africa generally. Demographics strongly supports rental demand, especially in urban and peri-urban areas. And we are beginning to see structures that allow institutional participation, such as the development rates that I mentioned earlier. I think number two, there's infrastructure-linked development coming up in many of the East African countries. I'll speak mainly in Kenya. So housing, logistics, mixed-use projects that are tied to transport corridors, employment nodes, and secondary cities. I think that's a niche that is coming up, and I think accessibility still remains one of the most underprized drivers of value in this region. And thirdly, I think it's something that has been a conversation that has been on the domain, and we should be in the driving seat, climate smart and efficient housing. I think these projects that are smart and efficient, really they lower the lifetime cost for households. Kenya, like I mentioned, have built a lot of affordable housing units, but my key question is usually what would be the long-term property management cost for these tenants, low-income households that are living in these units, So if we start looking at climate smart and efficient housing, I think in the long run, we'll be aligning better with development finance and ESG focused capital from investors. And finally, I think we also need smarter financial arrangements that reflect how our people actually build in our market. I don't know how it is in West Africa, but I believe it, like you said earlier, we are just one big family, different regions. So, like for instance, in Kenya, people buy a small piece of land, they pay incrementally, and then after a couple of years, they start building the foundation, put it up bit by bit until they get the roof. So, do we have financial arrangements that can really align to the demands and the needs of the people? So, things like service plots with incremental construction finance, rent to own models. 80% of the inhabitants in the city of Nairobi live in rented accommodation. So that's a big market. How can we convert this rental market to ownership? So rent to own financial models are key as well. Structured off-plan protection. We have seen scandals where people put in deposits and then the building does not take off, the development rather does not take off. So how do we protect client deposits in development that eventually do not materialize? Most, like I said, most households in our market, they don't buy a finished unit in one transaction. So we need like a financial instrument that mirror that reality in our market, which I believe is replicated across Africa. Yeah.
Mr. Kevin, thank you very much for that. You spoke a lot. We should look at affordable housing, mixed-use development by linking infrastructure to development. We also talk about climate smart and efficient housing, looking into how these properties will still be in better use after some years. And also, most importantly, you talk about better financial arrangement, rent to own, and the like. So thank you very much. Mr. Isaac, I'm back to you.
Yes.
So,
okay.
What do you think is the smartest way to play in West Africa? That means we are talking about our region together now in 2026 as a real estate player. The smartest way to play in the industry.
Talking about that, I'll pick up from exactly where Kelvin ended. He mentioned a point, and I've been speaking about it every day, relating to housing finance in our parts of the world. In our part of the world, we've been talking about affordable housing, but affordable housing cannot stand when there isn't a structured financial approach. As Kelvin mentioned, even in Ghana, when a property, which is impossible, but is put up for $10,000, that translates into Ghana cedis 120,000. Many people cannot afford that. I can say almost even about 80% of the population cannot bring you cash that take this $10,000 and give me the property. But as Kelvin mentioned, that person, even selling on the streets in Accra, small buys his land, make small payments, he gets some money, he will go and buy 5 bags of food side to the mason. Small by 5-10 years, the person has built. And therefore, we should get a mortgage financing approach that can structure to this. Mostly what I say in Ghana, the government goes affordable housing and it's built and he's selling it $50,000. We are in a market. Before our meeting, I was doing an analysis that even if the $10,000 that I'm talking about, which translates into 120,000, a mortgage facility, considering our high interest rates, will for 15 years will require the person to pay about 2,300 or so. And most mortgage analysis will tell you the person shouldn't be paying more than 30, maximum of 40% of his monthly income. But if you are talking of 2,300 or so, 2,500, and you multiply that by 3, that is about almost 8,000. I can tell you less than 80% of Ghana's population and less than 5,000 a month. So in this case, there's no mortgage facility that can. So we should find a way, a financing model like how Kelvin discussed, so that we tailor things relating to people's income approach. Yes, so that is the demand side, a way of a financing model, a development financing model, the government partnering with financial institutions to ensure low interest rates and a financing model that relates to what is on the ground. That will stimulate the demand side. On the supply side, it's in Ghana, but I'm sure it's relating more of or West Africa or other African countries. The supply side has been so much capitalized by meaning the capitalism system, in that everybody wants to go to where the money is. Now everybody bringing money for real estate development in Ghana wants, if it was supposed to be in Lagos, wants the Ikoyi, Victoria Island and those places. That's where everybody wants to put his money to. So to the extent that sometimes the supply becomes more. Everybody wants to go to the prime areas. But as Kelvin stated, we have a huge percentage of our population who are renting, who need houses to buy. So possibly governments must come with intensive that, as we initially discussed FDI, if we are bringing this money, for sure 80% should go into these high-end grade A offices and apartments, but 10% might also go into affordable housing with policies like that, so that the demand side, it will not be so much capital driven, interest earning driven, so that it's only being provided for the rich, but at least the poor will also be looked at. One challenge that we have experienced, I think it's basically across all African countries, is, as I indicated, our components of construction are more import driven. Somebody did analysis about cost of construction in South Africa, and I was intrigued by how low rate cost of construction in South Africa is. So when I inquired, they made me know that in South Africa, most of the component that goes into the real estate development are locally produced, locally sourced, because they have the industries. So this is able to drive cost of construction down. So if government, in our government, in their industrialization agenda, I mean, the biggest investment that any individual company makes in its entire lifetime is into real estate. And therefore, if we are making policies, we are in a world that even in Ghana, people spend as high as 50% of their salary on rent. So if a government that you care about people, I think the first thing you should be looking at how housing provision is going to be made affordable. So if government sets for industrialization agenda, where much attention should be derived to research and production of components, construction materials that can be produced locally, procure locally, so that when exchange rate shocks happens, it won't hit the construction sector so hugely. Because imagine in Ghana, because of the volatility, the unstable nature of our exchange rate, most people price in dollars. So imagine there was a time in 2022, the dollar moved from a rate of 6 cedis to a dollar to about 15, 17. So the same house that is being priced in $100,000 is increasing almost 3 times for the average purchaser. But if it was in the state that most of the components in the construction are locally produced, locally sourced, even if there's an exchange rate volatility, that wouldn't affect the cost of housing, the cost of getting in. So in summarizing what I've said, government should find, as Kelvin said, tailored towards how our people build, how our income is, so that will stimulate the demand side. On the supply side, as investors come in, there should be collaboration with the investors, possibly maybe places that the government is providing land to ensure that, oh, if you are going to develop in Ikoyi or we are going to develop in Victoria Island, 80% agreed, but 10% of the capital that we are coming to go here. I don't know of the other places in Nigeria, but in Ghana, maybe the low end here, we require that at least 20% or 15% will also go in. So there will possibly tax incentive there that the 20, if you are taxing you 15% on the 80% in the prime areas, in the low income areas, when you are going, whatever you are earning, instead of 20%, we are taxing you just 5%. So in that way, people will be motivated to also divert some of their capital into affordable housing so that it will not just be left to the dictatorship of demand and supply, that everybody wants to build in where the prime areas, where the rich lives. But we also should be looking at people at the low end who also need housing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Isaac. You have been hitting it very hard, and I love it. So when you are talking about tax incentive, it could have been a very good initiative. But let us look at this way. In a situation where the majority of players evade tax, and even tax incentive doesn't even matter to them, because even if there is no incentive or there is incentive, they will evade not to pay. So what do you think the tax system should make so stringent in such a way that any incentive you have will translate to something tangible? Just quick response on it.
That was on to our earlier information that we spoke about, the digitalization agenda, making sure that we streamline our processes. If every company come in here, we in Africa, somebody can be working, a millionaire can be working for 10 years without even paying a cedi. But you can't go to the West to even do some small carpentry without paying the tax. So if our systems, the individual, our tax identification system are streamlined, the companies' tax identification systems are streamlined, there's a monitoring processes, the human interference is reduced. Everything will be tracked. Income, how much you are earning, what you are bringing in, what you are taking away. If everything is tracked, there's a system that tracks this, that is digitized, there's less human interference. All these things will be able to be, because if you are bringing $100 million into the real estate market, it's being monitored, your account system and everything. At the end of the year, you file your annual returns, there will be auditors, everything says that, oh, so at the end of the day, you brought $100 million, we are seeing your cash flows, everything is now, you are going to 150 million. How much tax was being paid? How much tax was being paid? So in the West, they do this. I mean, you can't live in the West, even the ordinary person. How many in Africa, how many of us do our annual tax filing individually? Most of us don't do that. You can't live in the US or where that you end up a whole year ends and an individual will not go and declare. So we need an automated system so that the human interference will reduce, so that the person will not under declare. Typically, what people do is that he goes to see the person in Ghana, we call it GRA, the Ghana Revenue Authority. Somebody will go like, Charlie, my tax budget is $500,000. I'm giving you $100,000. Let's pay $100,000 to the government. Let's throw the $300,000 away. And people will go, that's how people will avoid it. But imagine there's a strict system checking what came in, what went out, and this being is money. The person taking the $100,000 at the office will be afraid. And the person who will under declare will know that after audit, instead of saving that $300,000 that he thinks will save, when he's being found out he's being paid almost 5 times, he will not dare under declare. So as we initially discussed, the digitalization agenda needs to be driven so that almost whatever happened is being monitored. That's how the Western nations finance their activities. Everybody contribute, efficient tax system. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Isaac. Very interesting and deep insight. So we are wrapping up the last question for everybody. Everybody's going to answer the same question. Mr. Kevin has been trying to run since, but you will not go. You have to give your view on this last question before we go. It's just last question. Within 2 minutes, everybody will just give what their view. So, Mr. Kevin, I'll start from you. If you believe that Africa should prioritize one thing, prioritization of just one thing going into 2026, either policy reform, access to capital, or execution capacity, just one thing, which one thing do you think matters most for this industry to maximize or accelerate the growth of this industry? Just one.
Sorry, there was a bit of a background noise, coffee machine, but I hope you can hear me. So, like I said, I think there's no one fits all solution. But if we were to prioritize and start somewhere, then I think it's what we've just been talking from the beginning of this webinar. We need execution capacity. One thing that we have seen in many African countries is that capital is there, money is there, but we really need execution capacity, institutions that promise to deliver, and they do deliver actually. They don't think with clients' money. And also, we need a very strong governance system, like Isaac just talked about GRA. We also have similar experiences with KRA. We also have the Kenya Revenue Authority, similar name, just a K and a G. But yeah, we need a strong governance system so that such issues and such pilferages do not happen. Africa is really growing. It's one of the fastest urbanizing regions, and cities like Nairobi, for instance, are growing at a rate of 4% annually. So that scale of growth will overwhelm even well-designed policies and delivery systems would need to keep pace. So governance would be really key to address this growth and also capacity in executing major projects and executing them transparently to completion. I think it's also a very key thing. Like I said, capital exists, policy exists to some certain extent in many African countries. But I think what's missing, in my opinion, is just that consistent ability to prepare projects, to coordinate institutions, and deliver at speed and deliver at scale. So I think in closing, since I'm really on the run, if I were to leave you with just one statement that will wrap this conversation up, is that inclusive real estate growth in Africa won't be built on policy documents or capital announcements. Hey, we've raised $1 million Ghanaian dollars. We've raised 1 billion Kenya shillings for investment. Money is there. We know money is there. I think the battle will be won on delivery, and the institutions, whether it's public institutions or private institutions that deliver on time and at scale, those are the economies that are going to be the game changer in the next couple of years to come. So I think that would be my parting shot, Mr. And I hope I'll be able to hang on with for the closing remarks for the able, the Abed and Isaac. It's been an excellent conversation, but I really need to run. So thank you so much, everyone, the other panelists, and all who are listening in and who will listen maybe to the recording in future. And I hope we can build an Africa that we'll be proud of in the years to come.
Thank you very much, Mr. Colvin. No follow-up anything. It's just, as I said, I will not follow up with anything. Okay, Mr. Abedi, over to you now.
I think for me, I will just reiterate what Mr. Kevin has mentioned. It will be a question of execution, and I think during some point I mentioned the risk which investors will face. I think I touched around that kind of risk. So execution to me matters a lot because, as Kevin mentioned, capital is there. It's a question of being bankable, and are you able to execute and complete the project in time and deliver, return of investment to the investors.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abedi. Then, Mr. Isaac, what to you?
Okay, yeah, from where I stand for I will still stay on the data transparency. Because one thing I've realized that generally in Ghana and in Africa, our real estate ownership were previously for prestige. The average rich person who is building in Abuja or in Lagos wanted to have the biggest, go around pointing that I own the biggest house or the biggest commercial property in Lagos. So those things, you didn't need any data-driven incentives. So as soon as there's a land available, he just goes and go around bragging that this is my house. That is it. But we are moving into an era that people are now seeing real estate as an asset. That cash, wherever cash they are putting in, they are going with want returns, especially most of these apartments that's been developed in Ghana, and I'm sure in most part of Africa, people, especially our colleagues in the diaspora, buying and renting them. So in the near future, the average Ghanaian, Nigerian, Kenyan in Africa will not just go into building just because he wants to live at a certain place or he wants to own the biggest mansion at a certain place, but will be looking at the returns on his investment. And therefore, government should put in place policies that will ensure transparency, declaration, so that there will be enough information that if somebody wants to put money in any area, in commercial, in residential area, he can, even with the support of an analyst, or he himself can analyze that, oh, I can do a projection up to this point, instead of putting my money here, or whether to invest in Lagos or invest in Abuja, invest in Mombasa or invest in Accra. That information will be there, so that like the way people are able to pick stocks easily on the capital market, or are able to analyze investment in other areas, there will be so much information for real estate developers, that so that if he's investing, he knows the issue relating to the ownership is easily available. He can confirm his holding period, how much he has to hold the property for, his IRR and NPV. Any analyst that is working on has a solid information. With this, people will be confident to invest in. There will be foreign direct investment, and even development of concepts like the real estate investment trust, so that we can even get a secondary mortgage market or secondary investment market, where capital, the ordinary people, if you have a lot of REITs both listed on the stock exchange, we can then raise money, so that if I don't have $100,000 to put up a structure of my own and rent, if I have just $1,000, if there's this investment avenues, real estate investment trust, I can also buy into it as a real estate investor. But all these things can be well developed when we have a well environment that encourages data transparency and availability of data for analysis. So if I am to advise any African government on issue relating to the real estate, I would say data transparency, gathering, processing data. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Isaac. While we were discussing, we have one of our previous speaker on this platform, and he's also a very supportive ally. He's from Ghana. His name is Mr. Emmanuel Taiwa. He's the board member of GRIPA. So, Mr. Emmanuel, please, can you kindly unmute yourself, show your video, and say hi to our panelists today? Mr. Emmanuel.
Right. Thank you for having me, and Merry Christmas to each and every one. And I'll be following the great conversation from all the panelists. A very interesting one as usual. And special greetings to my brother from Ghana, Isaac. It's great. We are all doing this together, and we need to continue this engagement just to help all of us move our continent forward, because Africa is for us, and we need to take intentional steps in the development of our continent, cross-border collaborations. And last week, there was an event at the Lagos State, and we had some of our leaders come in. The the CEO of the Ghana Real Estate Agency Council, and a representative also from the Ministry of Western Housing. And then we also had the CEO and founder of GREPA, Lady Victoria Sampa, also joining. And I think these are things that will help the continent, move forward, especially with regards to real estate and everything, infrastructure. So it is a good discussion, and I wish all the panelists all the best. I've really learned a lot as well and tap into some of the great ideas and insight that have been shared today. Thank you very much, and please keep it up. We are also here at any point in time. We need to just have some meeting one of these days so that all of us can gather. Maybe you have to come to Ghana, and then we'll also come to Lagos, and then we go to Kenya, we go to Uganda, and visit all the other countries, All right, thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel. Thank you especially for the support you have been giving to this RAB platform that drives us this far. As you rightly suggested, we are looking at a situation where we host physical events that all of us can sit down together, wine and dine, discuss our problems and provide solutions to them. It is our problem, and it is in our hands to solve it on our own. And I believe that Africa will be great, not in our absence, in our presence. So thank you, everyone. Mr. Abeji, Mr. Isaac, Mr. Kevin excused himself that his surrounding was a bit noisy. He has to go. We have really discussed a lot. I'm supposed to start highlighting everything we have discussed, but because we have spent a lot of time, it's supposed to be 1 hour, 30 minutes. And because it was interesting, I keep on pulling more response from you. And I believe that this is what we need. At the end of the day, whatever we have learned, we should keep them in practices. By next year, going forward, we are looking at a way where most of these things we said, we have a workshop, virtual workshop, that people that are doing it as working for them can come and tell us, show us how to do them so that we can incorporate them in all our practices, especially on behalf of Africa Real Estate and Business Insights. I especially thank everyone for honoring this invitation. In fact, at this odd moment where we are all celebrating our break, the long break for the year, you carve out time to be here with us. It meant a lot for us, and we are not taking it for granted. Mr. Isaac and Mr. Abeji, we have our speakers platform where all the speakers are being added via WhatsApp for cross networking and collaboration. Your permission that we'll add you there. Let the conversation continue behind the screen. Thank you very much for your time. I'm truly honored. We can connect on LinkedIn. I'm AS Yunusa across all my platforms. So on LinkedIn, I will look for all of you. We'll connect there and take our conversation beyond here. So Halima, now over to you. Over to you.
Yeah. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you to our speakers for sharing your valuable insight and expertise with us today. Your presentations has given us so much to think about, and thank you to our audience too for engaging in this seminar. I wish you all a joyful Christmas and a happy New Year. Hopefully, I'll see you all next year.
All right. Thank you, Halima, for putting this together.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy holidays. Bye-bye.
Happy holidays.